So we're talking about subconscious biases in university doctoral programs and how sometimes women and women of color experience their doctoral programs differently than the rest of their classmates because of this thing that's like underlying. Did you know that it was happening when you were in school, or was it something that you looked back on and said this, oh, wait a minute.
I knew it was happening, but
Mm.
people thought I was crazy.
How'd you deal
And
with it?
I don't think I don't think I did. I think everything was because I was still in the swirl of
Mm-hmm.
not dealing with grief and
Mm-hmm.
then having this new identity of
Yeah.
being at the top of your career in one area, then being dropped down like you're nothing in one area, but
Mm-hmm.
still it was so much. So I don't know that I fully dealt with it, but I knew something was off. And I honestly, academia was my safe place. Like
Mm.
racism, I know exists,
Mm-hmm.
but when I was in school, I was treated maybe even a little better than some of the white kids because I
Mm.
was black and smart. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt
Mm.
that going through all of my education until the PhD program. So
Mm.
that's how I knew, like, wait a minute,
This is different. Wait, this is a
hold on.
different experience.
And then
Right.
and then I was like, so then when people would come to me, professors would come to
Yeah.
me and say, well, you're not interacting as much with the other students. One, because we have nothing to talk about. I don't want to talk about your cat. I'm just trying to get this degree and go.
Right.
Or
I
they
literally
would,
had somebody come in to talk about a lizard, and I was like, I don't care about the lizard. Like, I want to get out of
right.
class.
It's
Right.
like build community. At that time, I was like, no,
I
it's a
no, I
target on my
don't
head.
care.
I want to
Right.
get out.
Right.
And then it was, um, are you sure you thought about this? Like these are your original thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So
Mm.
things I knew weren't right, but I couldn't say was fully racist
Hmm.
because I would ask my friends, like, okay, y'all are getting this, and they would get
Wait,
like,
did they ask you if you plagiarized? Because they keep asking me.
they, yeah, they would get the normal PhD hazing, which is some of the
Yeah.
things that you said
Yeah.
earlier. Some things are normal,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, would y'all get this? But remember, I'm young, I'm black,
Right.
I'm a female in mathematics.
Yeah.
That
Right.
was the
In a
thing.
STEM, yeah,
That
industry. Mm-hmm.
triple threat,
Yeah.
I went in thinking like, oh, that's a good thing. But I did a talk about that. The triple threat is not a good thing because that means everything about me is now a threat to you.
Is a threat. Yeah. It's right.
So that's
People are
not a
in fact threatened.
compliment.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that this was after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, I was like, yeah, that's what it was. But I knew something wasn't right. This wasn't the normal. We don't want, it wasn't the normal, prove to us that you know this
Yeah.
stuff. It was a lot of, wait a minute, she's not giving up, she's not backing down, and she knows what she's talking about.
Mm.
And I knew how to build allies. So while most people, because there were other Black women in my
Yeah.
program, they would quit or they took longer. I even had a Black guy. He was the first Black guy in our
Mm.
program to finish. He was
Mm-hmm.
getting some things, but he was still kind of safe because he was a male.
Mm.
So I so I learned, I'm like, okay, I learned from their mistakes. What they did not do was reach out and build community. I was all across the university trying to build allies. So
Right.
that is something I didn't know. See, that's the thing. I didn't know at the time, but it was like Holy Spirit, I can say that, was leading
Yeah.
me like, hey, go talk to this professor.
Mm.
Go make friends with that
Yeah.
dean. Go,
Yeah. Get some people on your side. Right.
and
That makes
I
sense.
see why that happened because that is
Mm-hmm.
the only way I know I graduated on time. But sitting in it, I couldn't put names to it, but I just knew it
Hmm.
wasn't right.
Wasn't right.
It wasn't right.